Thank you very much, Jan, for this call, for your time. Um, I'm doing this kind of form where I want to talk to people, especially to coaches and also beginners, to pros, to people in the area, especially about in the swimming area. And I want to talk about certain topics on the topic of swimming as such, as a main pillar or main umbrella topic. And it's great that I have you on the phone, former pro swimmer, European champion, and German record holder on the 1500 meter, right? And so Jan Wolfgarten, for those who don't know him, and me, Marcus Martel, I guess from YouTube and Instagram, you know some of me. He is also very present on YouTube and Instagram. So just to have the jump into the call. And today we want to talk about the topic which is related to triathletes, and especially triathletes. What can they do differently when it comes to swimming, or what are the main action points to improve their swimming from a coach point of view? I mean, I hand over the word to you, I think, so we can even it out a bit.
Yes, Marcus, thanks for having me. It's funny, we had a good talk before we started here in German, but now we switched to English. It's always a little bit awkward when we're native speakers in another language, but I think we're going to be just fine. So thanks for having me. Yes, and I'm happy to share my thoughts with you. I think we can probably put something pretty good together if we add yours and mine together, and let's see what we can produce.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said, you come from, first of all, you have a pro background, and in that sense also pro background from pool swimmer transitioning over into open water swimming, or doing both of it, and now coaching mainly also pool swimmers, but also open water swimmers and triathletes who want to gain something out of it or get something out of it. One question which is actually in that sense, when we look at it as from a triathlete, why do you think, or what do you think, which is swimming that important, or can be neglected, or what do you think about it when it comes to Ironman, triathlon, or triathlon as such? What do you think?
I think depending on the level, it's actually very important for each level, but for different reasons. I think if you want to win the Ironman Hawaii at the pro level, I think you have maybe another 5 years where you can get by with being a mediocre swimmer. Mm-hmm. But I think that time is running out pretty quickly, because so many young guys from Olympic distance are coming up, and the swimming is going to be so fast, and these guys can also ride the bike, that even former super bikers like Sedi Kienle, who I used to coach, they will not catch the group anymore. So I think for that reason, you have to be good in swimming as a pro. And if you're just getting started, if you cannot swim, you're going to deal with a lot of anxiety, you're going to be scared, and it's just not going to be a pleasant experience. So for different reasons, it's also very important. So I think it doesn't really matter where you're at in your journey. I think you have to put in time for the swimming. I think a lot of people are worried that it takes a lot of time away from their overall swimming, but you also get crossover effects. So the swim training is also going to help you run in your bike.
Yeah. No, I actually have the same point, because I think most of these triathletes who set the standard out, especially like Gustav Iden or Blumenfeld, they come from the shorter distance. Even Brownlee, they come from the shorter distance. And for me, it was always, I usually say that swimming, I do believe it's actually, I think it depends on which distance. I mean, half Ironman or full Ironman. But in any way, it is, I believe, one of the most important disciplines which should be trained or has a main focus. Not because I'm biased, because I'm a swimmer, but the reason is you can be the best swimmer, the best cyclist, you can be the best runner in the world. If you give everything up in swimming, it's gone. Like, you won't get it back. You won't get the energy back. And so you need to try to be the most efficient you can be. And nonetheless, you saw now a former really good swimmer becoming second in Hawaii last year. And so there you see it, that someone from swimming can actually do the full transition. I think that is the main topics. That is what I see too, and that's actually a good assumption about the 5 years. I didn't think that it would be that soon. I thought it takes a bit longer, but or even earlier.
To be honest, I think the time's already up.
You think? Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's already up. I'm still a great fan. Sebi is still my favorite athlete, obviously, because I work close with him. Also a great fan of Lionel Sanders, but I just don't see it happening. If you lose 5 minutes in the swim in these days, it's over basically.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Do you think it's a difference between women and men?
I think a little bit more, yes. I mean, starting to get a little bit biased because I'm now living in Saarbrücken and I get to talk to Anne every now and then, Anne Haug.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're that strong in running, I think you still have a shot.
Yeah.
But I think it's not that extreme, but I think the women will catch on eventually also.
Yeah.
I think eventually it will be, we have to keep in mind, even triathlon as a whole, not just as an Olympic sport. As an Olympic sport, it started in 2000.
Yeah.
It's a very good sport.
Yeah.
I think triathlon was actually born in Hawaii, right? The discipline triathlon.
Exactly, yeah. As well,
in what, 80s or something like that?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
It's a sport that's very young. And to believe that the level of what people can actually achieve is very high yet, I think is pretty naive, if you ask me. Like, if we're swimmers now, of course we're biased, but our sport has been around for what, like 120 years? And the depth, if you want to even make a semi-final at the Olympics in the 200 freestyle, you have to be absolutely amazing these days.
True.
And I think triathlon is also, it's just going to be the same. It's going to be more and more depth in the racing, and people are going to be more and more well-rounded, and you're going to get more specialized training, and it's going to evolve. And I think the time is up. If you're not a complete athlete, you're card.
Well, I had this question just recently. Funny enough, I even posted on Instagram. A guy said to me, "Look, this high elbow catch thingy. You saw my videos. I know I have a decent technique, especially high elbow catch. And I have a decent long distance technique. I know that because I've been that. Like I've done that all my life. So my technique is you could obviously see that, but." And for me, one thing you need to get this water as early as you can. Their straight arm catch won't do it, won't cut it, especially on a pro level. To a certain extent, yes, if you have the torque, but if you wanna, like for the rhythm I have, you won't. You need that long stroke. You need, like for me, this is what I see. And funny enough, the guy, what happened was, there was Gustav Iden and Blumenfeld in an infinity pool, like in a stream from front, and they were doing on the water. They were filmed on the water, and both have some sort of. They have a kind of a straight arm catch, but it's very straight. So they still push the water a lot down, and then only then they start to catch actually and go back. And then the guy wrote underneath the video and said, "See, they don't do high elbow catch either." And then I wrote back to him and said, "Listen, I guess in triathlon it depends on who masters all three disciplines the best, like who is the best at all three together and can bring it to one point on this specific event." And if you compare then Blumenfeld and Iden to professional swimmers, let's say Greg Paltrinieri or Flo Welberg or other people or Romanchuk, if you compare them, they're far away. I mean, they're even behind me. They are not like, they're mediocre, like medium swimmers. They wouldn't even make it into a final or anything like that. So I think there still is a lot of room for improvement. Whereas on the other side, on cycling and on running, I don't think they're so far away from the pros. That is something. That's why I'm saying swimming is still there is still a lot of room there, I think. And that's why it's so important, I guess.
I'm not an expert to necessarily give a qualified answer on how far they are or how close they are in world-class terms in cycling and running.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it's a little bit simpler technique-wise. I mean, on the bicycle, you're strapped into your clickies, and there's not really that much that can go wrong technique-wise. I mean, maybe position-wise, and I mean, it's probably more of a conditioning thing. With running, like I said, I don't even want to go into detail because I'm not an expert. As far as swimming goes, the high elbow, I always have mixed opinions. I think, yes, if you want to be great, you probably need to be pretty good. But I always tell the guys that come to me, I think it should be something that should be focused on a little bit later on in your swimming career.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think, I mean, obviously, both of us are swim fans.
Of course.
If Ben Walk posts a video of him swimming in the flume, it's poetry in motion, right? It's perfect.
It is, yeah.
I was never able to swim a high elbow like that. There's no, I mean, I could have. I can do it that it looks like that, but I would be slower.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to do it. So I think I'm more of a fan of having the basics right. I think if you compare swimmers to triathletes, the biggest difference I see is that the swimmers have a significantly better core strength or core stability, I should say, not necessarily the strength, but the ability to remain stable in water. Mm-hmm. And you can already see that when you push off the wall.
Yeah.
And the other stuff, like I always give the example of Leonie Beck. Probably, I don't know if you have a crossover, but she also has a very big Instagram following, I think close to 100,000. Mm-hmm. She sometimes posts underwater videos, and she has, especially on the right arm, a fairly straight pull, which I always think, wow. Technically, certainly an area where she could improve a lot, but she's a European champion. She came second in the Worlds, and she's fifth at the Olympics. So,
true.
I think what we need to keep in mind, and what I always tell my athletes, is that you need to make sure that you're still pulling.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people, they read the latest Triathlon magazine, and they read an article about high elbow catch, and then they do something like this, where they go like this, and their hand passes the elbow, and then they artificially make their pushing phase 1 meter long.
Yeah.
And the strongest part of the pull is where the most torque is happening in the pulling phase.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that it's still, I mean, we're going deep into the nerdy territory.
True that. Yeah, no, I know.
I think if you want to break world records, I think you need to have a very clean stroke. And I think obviously you should aim towards that. Mm-hmm. But I think you also need to be careful to, how do I say this? A lot of things need to be right in order to be able to do that. You need to be flexible, you need to have a great feel for the water, you need to have probably, not necessarily a good kick, but let's just say it's hard, it's pretty hard. And I agree with you, it's necessary to break records.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the premise is obviously from your point of view, the people you want to coach in the end, they certainly have achieved, they can swim, and they just want to get better in the swimming area of it and want to improve there, and I think there they already have a certain knowledge of the technique, and so you would just like fine tune it and get it to a next level. Fine tuning not only on the technical side, because a lot of people, what I also see is in triathlon especially, is they don't know how to train properly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think a lot of it. So because they say to me when I say, oh, I go to the pool, I do 50 times 50, go every 50 seconds, or our usual training, so interval sets. And so the technical side, I would just to have that. Technical side is one thing, which is important, you can do, but you can already do a lot with proper intervals. Because going back to what I started, when I said to them, oh, I do, today I did 20 times 50, go every 50 seconds, then I did 20 times 100, every 100 needed to be the time I want, minus 2 seconds, and then so forth. They look at me, I would never swim that many 50s, that get boring and whatsoever. And I think there is a lot of room as well, I guess. I don't know, you might see that as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, we're now almost drifting into the second question that we were talking about.
True that.
It happens naturally, but I agree, man. I think that's the biggest thing. Is there's a gigantic misconception out there in what actually makes you better in swimming as a triathlete.
Yeah.
I'm always, and I stand behind this, if you go to the pool and you have 1.5 hours and you're drilling 30 minutes and you're sprinting 30 minutes and you do a little bit of a long swim at the end, you're dramatically wasting your time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening. Because you can drill all you want and you're going to look great in the first 100 of your 1.5K or your 3.9K or whatever, but then it's all going to fall apart. So it's not going to help. You need to be able to swim and keep the technique together. And I would put all my eggs in the basket of the guy who's grinding and who's putting the work and maybe not look so pretty compared to the guy who spends all of his hours drilling, who's a drilling specialist, who has all the drills in the world, but this guy will fall apart the latest after the halfway point. And then the second biggest thing I see, I mean, I said it with the sprints. This will be my next YouTube video. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with countless elite swimmers and with a ton of triathletes. I think what we need to understand is that we are distance swimmers as triathletes. And the misconception that goes around is you need to increase your base speed in order to get a faster 1500. And there's some truth to that, of course. If we want to break 15 minutes in an extreme case, and we can only swim 101 minutes, it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
But we need to understand that 50-meter sprints and 25-meter sprints is not going to help you whatsoever. I'm not saying they are never in my training plans. They are in my training plans. But we as long-distance athletes need to develop that speed at a threshold training set of repetitive 50s.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we are always going to put the fast 100 freestyle together on the second half.
Of course. Yeah.
We're never going to make our points on the first half. Trust me, I've done everything. I mean, I trained with Ryan Lochte and he was saying, let's do less, let's hear, I don't need that much. I'm like, man, I'm not sure, let's try. It's working for him, let's go. And the 200 freestyle I split, I was 4/10 faster on the first 50. Now, for those who are listening, 4/10 is nothing. For us, it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
For us,
it's a lot, yeah.
But at the end, it was 1.4 seconds slower because it didn't do anything for me. Because I did a good 200, depending on my second half of the race. Yeah. I think that's what you have to keep in mind if you want to progress as a triathlete. That those 15 and 25-meter sprints is, in my opinion, a waste of time. To be honest.
I guess there I use it every now and then just to activate, especially at the end of the session. So yes, one thing which I also back in the days when we would train, we would do that because you did also 200 meters, and so you would do the sprints mainly in the middle or in the first part of the session. But now, as for long distance, I would always do it at the end because they are going to go and sprint when the whole body's tired, and then I'm going to go out for it, and then you need to go and get the race done or get faster towards the end. And as you said, the second half is the most important thing. The closer you can get to a negative split, if you want to, the better you are as a distance swimmer. Because and also it gives you some sort of a comfortness that if you go out as a triathlete, if you go out in the first half you're stellar, you're going to swim you pass everyone on the swim out, then and then you get tired. That is demotivative for yourself. Like it's not going to be happy. You're not going to get out of the water happy because you know now you got tired over the course of this race, of this mini part, and then you go on the bike. Wouldn't it be nicer that you start slower and get faster and go on a high onto the bike and then go out? That would be, I mean, for us, you and I, when we talk about, I did my Ironman in Klagenfurt, came out of the water 51 minutes, 3.8 Ks, that's 120 average. That was catch up, because I knew I needed to save for the bike. Unfortunately, I had an accident with the bike after 140 Ks, but that's beside that. Yeah, it happens. I do it again this year. It's fine. It's my goal still stands. But I used maybe 5% of my energy or 10% of my energy levels and still had everything left. and that would actually mainly be the training thing where we say so to train the second half or train the second leg in the end. And again, you said you touched base on the drilling and the grinding, like the comparison. Look at Greg Paltrinieri and Flo Wellberg. I mean, look at both styles. I guess when you want to have a picture book technique, then you take Flo Wellberg. But on the other hand, you see Paltrinieri, who is as fast, even faster sometimes, but he swims like what? I mean, no legs. Sorry? Yeah, I mean. But you know, I know how they train. I know him. I know them. The most Italian distance.
A lot of work. Both parties put in a lot of work, and they can handle a lot of work, and they do it clever. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they're so successful there.
That's it. But and then also you can. Then also I remember the guy called Tom Dolan. I mean,
great fan. Yes.
Amazing swimmer, but hideous technique. Fly somehow. Backstroke, like going back, and the breaststroke was even the most normal one, and then freestyle also I don't know where he was, but this guy could train hard. I mean, what is it?
Fast. And he had the NCAA record in the 500 freestyle for a long time.
Yeah.
He went 4:08 back in the 90s. That's still flying. I mean, the NCAA champion just yesterday, the guy from Texas, I think, won in 4:06, and the second guy was 4:07. He would have still placed top 5 in a speed, not in a jammer, probably not even a swim cap on, way in the 90s. And I mean, this guy took it to a whole other level. I heard maybe those are rumors, but I don't think so. I think for a good cause, once a year, this man did a 40K IM, 10K butterfly, 10K backstroke, 10K breaststroke, 10K freestyle once a year for a good cause.
No, didn't hear. I just knew back in days because my coach was very well connected with all the others through his connection with Turetsky and all these guys. I knew what he did because I was some sort of a similar type. I needed a lot of technique was one thing, but if I didn't have, let's say, talent, I had talent, but to get better, I needed a whole lot of volume. So I used to have a morning session, an evening session. Before the evening session, I would do 50 times 50 seconds. Every 50 meters should be around 30 seconds, 50 meter. And I did that before the training and then I started again. And that was mainly also thanks to him because he was the one who would, even for Olympic Games, we knew preliminary, this guy swims like 10Ks to start with, goes and does his race, then 5Ks cool down, got a 10Ks before he goes for the next race, and so on and so forth. We just did amounts, which is crazy. I mean, I don't know if all the amounts are correct, but it was mainly volume which he put in as well. Like, that guy was crazy there. But now, that is actually a fun part about going back to triathlon. The sport as such requires a lot of volume in cycling, in running, but somehow they don't get it in swimming. And I think now, yes, more, but I don't know.
Well, I think the absolute gigantic volume is not necessarily needed because the aerobic base is so well trained on the bike and on the run. Mm-hmm. We as swimmers, we do everything in the pool. Like we do our generic, I mean, sometimes we run, but as the season progresses and we get up to 70, 80, 90, 100K a week, there's not much room for running, at least it isn't for me. But yes, I think the main sets are too easy and too, even with the pros, what I see, I think it's, yes, you have the big base, and I think 25K, 30K a week could be enough.
Yeah.
But there need to be some aerobic, like interval sets, like you talk about, that hit 45 minutes, maybe even an hour in length. That should be in there.
Yeah.
I mean, 16 times 50 is not going to cut it. That's not the type of work you need to do to have a fast 3.8K.
No, I think if we're gonna go into that training part, and I think then we want to sum it up for this call a bit, but to go in, I think just to have a comment on that, I think swimming needs to be like if you get 1.5 hours, take it. half an hour won't cut it. I think the half an hour, like the theme where they do little sessions, and then, for example, in running it works because you can half an hour interval sets and stuff like that. That can help a lot to improve. And if you do this every time a bit, every day a bit, that can work. And even it worked for me because I didn't need hours of running. Cycling is an endurance game, but again, there you need time, so it goes over the volume part. But for swimming, instead, I put now something out. Maybe you say yes or no. I would say give it 3 times 1.5 hours instead of 5 or 6 times half an hour, 45 minutes. And in this 1.5 hours, these 3 times, you're gonna really do 3 interval sets within the whole session. So you do warm up, first interval set, then some whatever you want, another interval set, and then a third one interval set, and then you do the cool down. And you do this 3 times in a week instead of having a half an hour every day almost, or every 5 times a week. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose one or the other, I would go with what you're saying for sure. I mean, the benefit of swimming every day is you probably develop a little bit better feeling for the water. But, and we talked about this earlier, you never really challenge your body with what happens if my glucose levels are at.
Yeah.
What happened in 30 minutes. I mean, most of our audience here in 30 minutes. I mean, we swim 2K at 30 minutes in training. I mean, me not anymore, but I used to. I mean, they may only swim 1,200 meters. What is that? That's not going to do anything for you. I mean, you need to train your body to still function after 45 minutes when it gets tough. And if you don't do this, it's probably not going to learn it by itself by sitting on the couch, right? I mean,
true, but
that makes sense. I mean, you need to put it in, yes.
But you also, what I also would say to the premise which I said is, you and I, we have a certain amount of kilometers in our body already. So we've done the youth training and whatsoever. What you see with even Daliena Leaf, which originally started off swimming triathlon and stuff like that, so she knows the swimming background whatsoever. So she has a lot of kilometers in her body already. And the same thing as Brownlee, all these good swimmers, or like from the short distance. But when you have people who started off with, let's say, cycling and running, they are missing out on these kilometers. And then I guess you need to have that bit. Because for you and I bet I can imagine that we would, and a lot of people say that to me, but I can't get away from it because I just love it too much and I need it to be alive. That they need to have this kind of longer sets or longer amount, like bigger amounts, which you need to do. I guess if you would say 6 times half an hour for you and I would work. You say it, 2Ks, you would have 2Ks in. For another person, it wouldn't work if you don't have the Ks or the kilometers. You didn't eat the kilometers when you were younger. I think that is the difference out there. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to put the work in. I mean, I'm out. I don't swim much anymore, if at all. I do a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
If I swam. When was it? 2 or 3 years ago. I did the German Masters in the 200 AM, and I did 11 sessions total. And I did okay for 200. I did okay. 1,500 is not happening anymore. But yes, if I because I also know what it takes. Like what you say is true. If I only go fight, even myself, if I only go 6 times for 30 minutes, I will fall apart 100%. Because I need to put in the work. I'm a guy, and I think most distance guys are like that, who respond really well to volume. And if I don't put volume in, I'm not even a distance guy. I'm more of a 200 guy. But if I put in the volume, I become a distance guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm never a sprinter.
Me neither. That we are in sync there. Not gonna happen. No, I can't turn my arms that fast. Like it's not. It's also not. No, I'm no Flora Manadou or something like that. I'm more Laura Manadou or something like that. In that sense, you know, it's so interesting. Brothers and sisters, so different. You know, Flora Manadou sprinter. Pure sprinter, and Laura Manadou this middle distance, even long distance. She could have swum long distance, I bet. And so different within the family. But coming back to the original premise, so then we can we go over to another topic then. Just to have it from the key points which a triathlete, in our opinion, or in my opinion, would need to look at would be, yes, technique to a certain extent. If you get it to a level like Flo Veldwerk or even me when you see me on Instagram, that's nice, that's great. But I guess before you go the whole 9 yards on the technique, you need to do 90% of volume or 80% of volume to get even there. I think you can do a lot of if you are in the area where you coach swimmers or coach in the past, they can swim, but they are missing the kilometers. And there you can do fine tuning on one hand, but then also get them to the next level, make the jump from 5 minutes to on a 400 meter to 4:30, and that can be easily done with a change of training or how they train. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think there's probably a misconception by now out there I don't have that big of a following, but the science says it, I'm all for the grind and the hard work, but obviously I take a lot of care about technique. But I think my approach is more, you need to be in the moment and you need to think about your freestyle while you swim freestyle.
Yeah.
And you need to keep that, you need to do video analysis, you keep an eye on that. And then you need to improve while you're swimming. I think it's a much easier and better and faster way to progress if you learn to coach or to improve yourself while you're swimming. To really think, okay, I think journaling is great. How did I feel today? What did I want to work on? I saw in my latest technique analysis with Marcus, we went over it and he said my right elbow is falling, so I put extra focus when I swim. Right on. You need to repeat until it gets automatic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And technique, we do technique, just a technique session for me, unless it's the first 2 weeks of the season, then yes, but in season, you will never see me write down 1650 drill. That's not going to happen because I think we're wasting too much time. We need the volume. So for me, for example, it might look like 400, and it might be 50 freestyle catch up, 50 free breathe every 3, 50 freestyle 636, 50 freestyle breathe for your weak side.
Yeah.
So we do both. We're drilling, but we're also doing aerobic base work at the same time.
Yeah.
And that makes sense in my opinion. I think for sprinters it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But the distance guys, we need to put the technique in while we swim, while we consciously thinking about what we do while we swim freestyle, and the drills should almost be incorporated into the normal swimming.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what worked for us. Yeah.
No, I would agree there. I mean, it goes ultimately with another thing which I usually say is that yes, when you have like courses, like swim courses, that then they have like swim courses every Tuesday, and then they don't do anything in the middle, so they go every Tuesday. Oh, I have technique lesson in freestyle. That will never work. Never ever. If you have every Tuesday or every Tuesday and Friday, that won't work. If you don't do the work in the middle, forget it. And in this time, you don't always drill. You grind. You swim. You just swim and think about it. So I would say that. So if you want to be the most efficient in that, okay, yeah, we have every Tuesday a technical session with video and whatsoever. Maybe at the end, not at the beginning, and then you just let it set, lets it settle, and go and do your other training in the meantime, while you're thinking about what you need to change. And for us, it was easy. I know our coach would run up and down the pool and would say, high elbow, would always scream it in. I mean, I have it still in my head, or would whistle in a certain way that you knew, oh, it's me, okay, I need to do it. But if you don't have that, you need to be, journaling and stuff like that. So while you're at it, I think, that's a good point. Well, I guess for this topic, I guess for the moment we leave it, and I thank you very much for it. And let's have a discussion about other topics.
Yeah, sure.